Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm the very vigilant Ted Bannock that loves talking about cards. I could talk about cards forever. You know, I could just ever onwards be vigilant, I think.
Ted, you know that the name of the card...
We have a really great episode today, and I'm super excited. I'm super excited, and we're going to have a cool show. Aren't we, Dave?
I guess, but before we talk about the card, let's tell everybody how they can stay connected with Card Talk. We have a blog. Matt over there, our inimitable Cat Attack 22, he writes a review for every podcast we put out. So if you want to read what somebody has to say, we kind of work in concert with each other. So we talk a little bit about that over there at the blog. You can find us at cardtalk2018.com. And then we have an email address. You can get a hold of us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com. We have Second Breakfast, which Micah, every other week or so, plays a scenario with some deck restrictions and builds a deck and has fun doing that. And then if you want to become a patron, feel free to help keep the lights on here at the pod or keep the keyboard clacking over at the blog. And that's, you can join us at patreon.com/cardtalk2018. Lots of Card Talk 2018. But Ted, I think that this is going to be Card Talk 2011 as we talk about another core set card. Which one, surprisingly, are we going to be talking about?
Ever Vigilant.
What?
It's gonna be such a good show. We got a card to talk about today. So today's card that I haven't looked up is Ever Vigilant, but I know it by heart. It's a one-cost leadership event from the core set that simply states action. Ready an ally in play.
Missed a key part.
Is it an ally you control?
No.
Oh.
You have to choose that ally first. Okay.
Choose an ally you control, and is it choose an ally and ready it?
It just says choose and ready one ally card. Right. So some of that core set language is a little silly, right? But, the intent, you get to ready an ally. But Ted, we had a whole list of cards that we were choosing from the core set, and you said, let's pick Ever Vigilant. So, what's the deal? Give us the rundown here.
Well, this is one of those kind of sneaky cards where I feel like you might kind of overlook it. Where you're like, oh, ready an ally. Okay, sure. But when you actually maybe have a copy of it in your hand, you're like, oh, wow, I'm really glad I have this. The trick is you just got to have some somewhat decent, you want to have good targets for it is the trick, right? You want to ready strong allies, ones that have good stats. But even inside the core set, I think probably the most notable was Gandalf, right? If you spent 5 resources to play the neutral Gandalf, who's got 4 and all of his stats, you want to quest with him, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to spend 1 resource to ready him, and now he can defend for me, right? This card can prompt... It can get you out of a bind if you need an extra action. Sometimes shadow cards might force an enemy to make an extra attack, and you're like, oh, hey, I have no defenders anymore. How about I ready an ally, and even though that ally might be weak and die, it's better than an undefended attack, which would kill a hero. Right? All kinds of fun, tricksy things.
To add with your Gandalf, if you're going to use Beorn and you boost Beorn in that core set and he's 8 for the rest of the phase. Why not ready him a time or two?
Oh boy, are you right? And I don't think we mentioned that in our Bjorn episode that we did.
No. But I mean,
there's so many things to cover that we didn't in that episode. But I'm glad you circled back around to that, because that's a really great. That's a really great combo.
So, and I think that the designers of the game kind of realized that early on, that there's sometimes bonuses only last for this attack or this defense, but then there's some effects that last for the whole turn. Or the whole round or the whole phase or whatever, so it's those sorts of things that you want to do. Now, this doesn't ready a hero. That's an
ally only, but it can be any ally.
It can be any ally. It doesn't have to be yours. It can be somebody else's. So Eowyn is off the table, but that sort of thing, to be able to get multiple uses out of your big beefy defender, big beefy attacker,
or
is really good. Or what?
So two things that come to mind, just to name some tricks for players. Right in the core set, I initially used this for ally Faramir, because they're both in the same
100%. Yep.
Such stupid good ability.
So, to clarify, if there's new players out there, Faramir is not limited to, if you can ready him and then use him again, you can get a second boost out of Faramir. You don't just have to quest with him and then ready him and then boost everybody, including himself. But you can just, you can boost everybody, ready him, boost everybody,
again.
Yeah.
So all your characters are getting +2 willpower because you use his abilities
and
twice.
If you have 2 and that's just for one leadership resource in the sphere that is usually resource rich.
And if you got maybe 6 characters, you just paid 1 resource to get a 6 willpower boost for that turn, which can make a huge difference. It can push you through a location. It can push you through a quest stage. It can have a really big impact. Same thing with, you mentioned that Bjorn combo, right? You have Bjorn just from the core set. You're he attacks for 8. I ready him. He attacks for 8. Again, you can't target the same enemy, but you can attack 2 different enemies for 8, which is good.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other and it doesn't have to be, an ally in a sphere. It could be Treebeard. It could be, you can use it. It could be an ally that has an ability, like Jubair. You ready Jubair, and then you get rid of 2 shadow cards or so. There's all sorts of crazy things to do.
Yeah. We just did an episode on Daughter of the Nimmerdale and said how she was not so great. But if you're playing with the core set, right, and you're playing lore and leadership, you could ready Daughter of the Nimmerdale, whose action is to target a hero and heal 2. And if you really need to heal 2 damage to stop a hero from dying, this will do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the core set, we just named 4 different targets out of the core set.
Yeah, and obviously to maximize this card, you would want to use, again, something that the effect happens for the whole phase. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other allies that have, for the whole phase. A lot of those Rohan allies, like Gambling, and, where it gets +3, your Hama ally that gets +3 defense for the whole phase. There's just some, there's a lot of things to be able to do. Now, you can't commit a character twice to the quest. So that's the other thing. So you can commit a character to the quest and then ready it and then use its action or something if you wanted to, or vice versa. Gleowine, you could draw 2 cards or draw a card, ready him and draw another card, or ready him and draw, go commit to the quest or something. So it's
it's a big list of targets. I'm just looking over allies in general, ally Anborn. You exhaust him to return a trap from your discard pile to your hand.
Right.
you could do that again. I also think of one of your favorite archetypes to play, which we brought up in the last couple episodes, is the Sylvan archetype.
Sylvan's right.
Because that hero, that Celeborn that comes in the starter deck, also he boosts stats for the whole round. Right.
Yep.
So you have a character who might quest. He boosts all their stats. They might quest for 2 or 3 or whatever, and then you can ready them to attack again, or multiple uses. So between like Ever Vigilant and Galadriel, they could be questing, attacking, defending with boosted stats all in one turn.
Right. And that's, and or, imagine getting two attacks out of the Marksman of Lorien or something, not that you can target the Marksman, but the Marksman of Lorien is, attacks for 3, but attacks for 4 the round it comes into play. Also reduces the defense of a character, of an enemy the round it comes into play. So there's just a bunch of targets that
there's more than you think, right? You're
Right.
like, ready an ally, but then when you start to look at the pool and you start to look at some of their abilities, and you made a great point, even a character, an ally that has the ranged or sentinel keyword,
right,
that to be like, oh, does somebody have extra ranged? Oh yeah, I'm gonna ready my archer. It's got 3 attack and can range over. Now you could also ready one of their allies, but maybe they don't have enough allies. They need another character with range to come over. So you'd be like, oh man, it can really get you out of a bind that you just don't think about.
And I think that the biggest decision about playing this card is it worth putting this card in the deck or another ally in the deck that would just be ready? You know what I mean? Like, that's the deck building thing. Like, do you have enough allies to make this worth doing for a bunch of those allies? Or, is it better to just, put another ally in your deck? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the choice.
That's a good point, because I think a lot of players might be tempted when they're like, oh, why would I ready an ally when I could just have another ally forever?
Yeah, just put a Snowborn Scout into play for 1 cost and do a couple of, those are the choices. Those are the specific choices you have to make as a deck builder, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I would say you definitely want to make sure, a good deck building strategy is to you want to have, don't plan on having one target. Be like, oh, I'm gonna play Ever Vigilant, and I'm gonna play Bjorn, and I'm gonna do the thing where I play Bjorn and get the, don't make that your whole deck. You want to play multiple other good characters. Play some other archers, play some other sentinel defenders, or even characters that have high stats. I'm thinking of like the Defender of Ramis, right? Is a 4 defense ally. It just could defend for you twice. So
or
I'd
Honor
say
Guard. Honor Guard is a good, prevent damage, ready, prevent another damage.
So I'd say plan on making sure you have as many targets as possible. Like, you have good allies that have either strong stats or they have an ability, that card draw, healing. Some of the ones we mentioned, will make better use of this card than just a single kind of one trick combo.
Right. And that's true with a lot of cards. It's hard to have a 2-card combo in this game and have it go off repeatedly. So if, like, Sneak Attack is the great example. Like, yeah, Sneak Attack Gandalf is what you want, but you can sneak attack in a lot of things and have it do a good, like, you can even sneak attack a Snowboard Scout into play. They cost the same, but you get to put the progress, and then you pull it back in your hand, then you get to play it again. Like, you put 2 like, there's reasons to sneak attack more than just Gandalf. So, yeah. Anything else to say, or do we look at the art?
Let's take a look at the art because you and I we could talk all day about targets.
I
We
know.
just tried to name some specific ones and some general, but look over your card pool and take a look. And again, if you throw in 2 copies into your deck, it only takes 1 leadership resource, so a single hero, will let you have that ability and um share with us some fun stories when you're like, I used Ever Vigilant to ready my eagle and he ate the orc. We like to hear that stuff. So
Yeah.
let's take a look at the art, which I need to pull up. So
Okay. Well, I'm not a fan of this art. It's
like
like
the
it's like the Defender of the Ramas from the back. And and it's just
here it
it's
is.
kind of smeared and smudgy intentionally. It's definitely some sort of Gondor defender on the wall on the Ramos that's supposed to, be like, but it doesn't. I don't know. It's
Yeah, it's got this guard like standing watch right on the wall,
right.
kind of
Being
showing.
ever vigilant.
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of the way it kind of smears on the side. I don't know. I don't love this art.
Yeah, it's a bit on the darker side, which I mean, there's plenty of things to show like, oh, you must be vigilant in against the darkness. Maybe is kind of the theme it's going for with the really dark mountain and really dark armor and cloak and everything. But
Right.
yeah, I prefer my car to be a little more vibrant, but like it's not bad. It's definitely got that color definitely pops though. There's that like reddish sky, I don't
Right.
know, some evil stuff going on there, which is kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. That's fun. I don't know. Should we ring this thing?
Yeah. We gotta be. I gotta. Let's bring it up to the LOTR register. There,
Okay.
baby boy.
Okay. Baby boy. Did you just call me baby
I
boy?
said, I said
Hey, baby boy. Oh, okay.
But now I'm gonna call you baby boy.
Yeah, that's a little
Can't
scary.
wait till next kind of rings comes around. Like,
Yeah.
hey, baby boy, it's been
I
a
know it's
while.
coming up very soon. By the time this episode comes out, we'll probably be like 2 weeks away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, for anybody who doesn't know or may have forgotten, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we ring a card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, and 10 is the card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it came. And so, Ted, I think you went first last time.
Yeah, maybe, but give it a spin. Go ahead, go for it.
So, here's the thing. For all the praise that I gave Ever Vigilant, I still don't ever put this card in a deck. I think it's good for those cases, but I think the argument about maybe putting another ally in your deck instead of Ever Vigilant to make your ally do, twice the work, like it's just going to be, I don't know. I just is a card that I look over, but I can. These are the cards that I find the hardest to rate because it's just like I see, and I always forget that this card exists, and
It has potential,
and I know
right?
I can see already. Like I can just see, hobbits like loving this card. Like here, let's do some stuff, and but I just never include it. I'm like, oh, Ever Vigilant, so so I have to give this a, kind of a reluctant 7.
Okay.
So Ted, what's your take?
I'm gonna give it a 4, which is, I know, seems pretty high. But I specifically do like it for the Faramir combo. Like it's so good. So I know I kind of said like don't plan on using it for like one thing, but I tend to have that in mind. But I also have other targets in my deck, and a lot of times I might try to save it for that. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wait till I get Faramir out so I can use this for a big round. But I will absolutely use it whenever I need it, and that makes the card really flexible. And I think flexible cards are good. They apply to multiple situations. Combat questioning. Sometimes you just have to exhaust a character to do something. Gives you ready.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody could be right all the time, right, Ted? So.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what it feels like to be you.
Okay. Well, everybody, there's our review of Ever Vigilant. Check over at the blog for Matt, what he has to say, and join us again next week as we continue through the core set. Okay, everybody, have a great day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.